Breaking. 3 nights, 114 people hurt. £91 million up in smoke. This is no longer a protest. It's Britain coming apart. November 5, 2025. 8:42 p.m. Belfast city centre. Tonight, the Union Jack isn't waving above the streets. It's burning. Across Northern Ireland, 37 government-run migrant hotels are in flames. More than 100,000 people have filled the streets. It's not just Belfast. Crowds are pouring into London, Derry, Antrim, Newcastle. This is the biggest public revolt the country has experienced in over 10 years. And from Westminster? Nothing. Not a statement. Not a plan. Not even a hint of leadership. If you want the truth the major outlets won't show you, subscribe now, because what's coming is far worse than what you've seen so far. These attacks aren't random. They're targeted. The buildings being burned are migrant hotels. Government-funded housing costing taxpayers £189 per person each night. Just one example. The King's Crown Hotel in Lisburn costs £7.8 £8 million a year. Tonight it's a pile of burnt debris. Outside the High Street Hotel in Belfast, police in riot gear form a human barrier. Behind them, flames tear apart a shelter that housed 230 asylum seekers. Fire crews say they've counted 19 different arson attacks within 24 hours. Derry, Lisburn, Ballymena. Every location is a headline now. Every town feels like a battleground. A young nurse named Sophie Mallister stands outside her apartment in East Belfast, live streaming to thousands. Rain covers her coat, but she stays perfectly still. My rent went up 41% this year, she says, her voice breaking. They keep telling us there's no money for healthcare. No money for housing, no money for people like us. But there's money for this? She points her phone toward the burning orange sky. Her video gets 3.2 million views in 6 hours. The comments are filled with fury, and she's far from the only one who feels this way. An elderly veteran named Thomas Reed walks by the scorched frame of the King's Crown Hotel. He wears a Union Jack around his shoulders. His eyes are wet, but his voice doesn't shake. I fought for this country, he tells the cameras crowding around him. I shed blood for this flag. Now I don't even recognize the place I defended. That clip is everywhere within hours. Sky News loops it. BBC airs it on repeat. Because this isn't only anger anymore. This is disappointment. Abandonment. A generation that built Britain is now watching it fall apart. And people aren't quietly asking questions. They're demanding answers. All across the UK the chant echoes. Where is Westminster? But Westminster has nothing. Only excuses. Only silence dressed up as official language. 9 p.m. A confidential Home Office memo leaks online. A message that was never meant for the public. And buried inside paragraph 3 are 4 words that change everything. Northern Command overstretched. Reserve units requested. Emergency protocols activated. Political approval for military deployment pending. That approval never came. And by 10:27 p.m., the delay turns into a disaster. The first surge hits Parliament grounds in London. Thousands push forward. Metal barriers bend. Fences topple like toys. Police release tear gas. Something the country hasn't seen since the 2013 riots. Reporters say the sound on the ground feels like a heartbeat. Boots striking pavement. Shields slamming, bodies hitting the ground. At 10:45 p.m., Downing Street issues a statement. Not a plan. Not a real response. Just 3 lines of political calm talk. The Prime Minister condemns the violence. Public safety remains our priority. Dialogue must continue. Dialogue. A word that feels insulting when buildings are collapsing. Dialogue ended the moment the first hotel caught fire. Dialogue ended when Sophie's rent doubled and her hospital lost funding. Dialogue ended when Thomas Reed realized the country he defended no longer stands by him. Inside government offices, intelligence updates paint an even darker picture. MI5's regional team tracks 52 encrypted communication channels used to coordinate protest movements across 6 cities. The channels switch every hour. Moderators use VPNs. Messages disappear automatically. Police drones over Belfast are jammed twice in 30 minutes. Cell towers in Coleraine are burned to the ground. A Cabinet Office memo, leaked to The Guardian just before midnight, reads, "Containment impossible. Public mood volatile. Recommend immediate intervention or risk systemic collapse. Systemic collapse. Words the government never uses unless something major has already broken. By 11 p.m., the economic consequences start hitting. Energy traders report strange disruptions. Oil depots in Belfast and Larne face blockades from civilian vehicles. Fuel trucks are rerouted. Distribution lines are cut within 2 hours. Fuel supplies in Northern Ireland drop 19%. Hospitals switch to backup generators. Ambulances ration diesel. And the government? Still writing statements. Midnight arrives, and it becomes clear this isn't stopping. It's spreading. Across social media, one phrase takes over every trending page. #BeBritainOnFire. Within 12 hours, it reaches 64 million impressions. More than the 2024 general election. More than the Queen's funeral. More than any political story in recent years. This isn't just a hashtag. It's a movement. Clips go viral of riot officers kneeling in front of crowds. Captions say, "We serve the people, not the politicians." Some officers remove their helmets in solidarity. Others are seen crying. The thin blue line, it's cracking. And here's the question no one wants to face. If the police stop protecting the government, who will? By the time dawn arrives, the financial damage is huge. Consumer confidence falls 8% overnight. £1.2 billion vanish from retail markets in one trading day. Flight bookings from Belfast to Dublin jump 46%. When people start leaving their own country just to feel safe for a weekend, the numbers stop being statistics. They become symptoms. November 6, 11:55 a.m. Westminster. Cameras in place. The country watching. Prime Minister Keir Starmer steps up to the podium with a single page titled, National Stability Address. He clears his throat and reads, "My government condemns the violence in Northern Ireland and reaffirms our commitment to unity." No mention of migrant hotel contracts. No mention of MI5 warnings. No mention of Sophie, Thomas, or the millions who feel invisible. Just more empty phrases meant to calm people who are far beyond calming. Journalists yell from the back. "Prime Minister, will you suspend the asylum hotel program? Will you visit Belfast? Do you accept responsibility?" He doesn't respond. He just turns and walks away. The broadcast fades to black. Outside, the crowds grow louder. By nightfall on November 6, the figures are unbearable. 142 injured. 53 arrested. £91 million in property damage. 27 police officers hospitalized. Public trust in government falls to 22%, the lowest ever recorded. International reporters start using a new phrase, one that hurts. The Starmer collapse. A European diplomat in Brussels tells Reuters, "Britain once exported stability. Now it exports chaos. This is what happens when leaders stop listening." CNN airs a segment. Is Britain ungovernable? Al Jazeera asks, has the UK lost control? The world is watching. And Britain is burning. But here's what the cameras don't capture. In the smaller streets of Belfast, away from the fire and shouting, something else is happening. Something simple and human. People who were on opposite sides hours ago are handing blankets through shattered windows. A young migrant woman, still shaking from the fire that almost killed her, helps an elderly man lift his fallen shop sign. No cameras. No speeches. No politicians taking credit. Just people doing what government forgot how to do. Care for each other. At a small church near Donegal Square, volunteers light candles for the injured. Catholic, Protestant, immigrant, local side by side. Every flame equal. Even with all this pain, the city remembers how to hold itself together when no one else will. A teacher named Eileen walks to the burnt wall of the King's Crown Hotel. She picks up a piece of chalk and writes, "Forgiveness builds what fury burns." By morning, her message has been shared everywhere. It outperforms every riot video. It gets more engagement than any political speech. Because deep down, even in the middle of collapse, people know what matters most. Not who we blame, but who we become after. Britain has rebuilt before, from rubble to roofs, from war to welfare. Not because of politicians, but because ordinary people refuse to give up. Maybe tonight's destruction isn't an ending. Maybe it's the moment we finally ask a question we've ignored. How much anger does it take to remember empathy? The fires will fade. They always do. The buildings will be repaired. But the message rising from Belfast smoke will stay with us. Strength isn't control. Strength isn't force. Strength is the compassion that survives chaos. So here's the real question for Britain. Is this a riot? Or a reckoning? Are we collapsing? Or waking up? Are we the flames? Or the ones passing blankets through broken windows? Tell us in the comments. Your voice is the only one they haven't silenced. And if you believe truth still matters, if you believe Britain deserves more than empty words, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Silence only wins when we stop speaking. This is Brit Alert News. If you stand for the truth, stay with us. Because Britain has finally opened its eyes. And what happens next is up to you.